You're going to need scissors, glue, your cells unit, textbook pages, and your journal for this. Scissors, glue, textbook pages, and your journal. We're going to start out opening our journal to page 15. And on page 15, you should have either handwritten notes or typed notes about the structures that all cells have. And then we're going to tear out some pages from our textbook. When we tear out pages from our textbook, we want to be sure that we try to tear them as high up in the corner as we can so that we save the print. If the first one we're going to tear out is 109, and we're going to go up here way to the corner and tear out. We're going to have 109 and 110. We're going to put that to the side. We're going to flip over to 127 and 128. This page, front and back, we want that. We're going to tear that out. And 150, we're going to flip over to 150. And this particular one, 150 is the side that we want, but we're still going to be kind of careful how we tear that out. 150, we're going to do 151, 152. Front and back, we're going to do 153 and 154. And 155 and 156. So now you can close your textbook pages. Don't throw them away. We're not done with them, but we are going to put some of these pages into our journal. So let's flip our stack back over and let's start with page 109. And we're going to look at the front and the back. We're more concerned with the front, but we're going to trim up the side, straight up the side. If you want to look to make sure you're not cutting off the words up here, that's fine, but we're more concerned with this side. We're going to trim across the bottom, straight across. We're going to trim this margin, but don't cut the words off. And we're going to have to trim off right above the word animal cell, and we'll see if it fits. So when we look at our page 15 and we look top and bottom, that's not going to fit. So we're actually going to have to trim off right above where it says mitochondria, and we'll go back in and write animal cell over here somewhere. We're going to glue this on page 15 as a flap. So you're going to put a thin line of glue down the side, and you're going to glue it as a flap on page 15. Okay, your 15 should be on the right side, and that makes it open this way. If for some reason your 15 is over here, then you would glue it to where it opens just like the pages do. All right. So now we're going to go to the next page, which is 127. If you need time, you can pause the video. 127, I want these two pictures, but I'm mostly concerned with this chart. So I'm going to cut off the bottom right underneath those lines. I'm going to trim up the side at the edge of those lines. I'm going to go across right at that blue border. And then I'm going to go down the side. And so now that I have that trimmed, I'm going to flip over to pages 16 and 17 in my journal. We glued our plant cell as a flap. We glued our animal cell as a flap. We're going to turn this sideways, and we're going to write some notes behind here about things that plant cells have but animal cells don't. So plant cells have three things that animal cells don't. List them: 1, 2, 3. They have one big central vacuole, they have a cell wall, and they have a chloroplast. Animal cells do not have any of those things. Now they have a vacuole, but it's not one big central vacuole. Animal cells have, but plant cells don't, 1, 2 things. There's actually more than that, but for 7th grade we're just talking about these two. They have many small vacuoles instead of one big central one, and they have lysosomes. So now we're going to turn this, we're going to take the page that we cut out and trimmed, we're going to check it to see if it fits, it doesn't hang out. We're going to glue this like a flap onto page 17 by putting a thin line of glue down the edge. My hand's shaking today. So now you have a comparison of plant cells and animal cells, and you also have a great picture plus a little diagram. And then we're going, so looking at page 22, we're going to add the word biological above the levels of organization. And then we're going to write on page 23, a possible essay question might be, explain the biological levels of organization from least complex to most complex, and give definitions and examples. You're going to write your answer here. This is one of the possibilities for an essay question on the test. Your answer might sound something like this. The biological levels of organization start out with the cell, which is the smallest or the building block of living matter. An example might be a muscle cell. Next, a group of cells working together for a specific function is called a tissue. An example of a tissue is muscle tissue. And then you might go on to say a group of tissues working together is called an organ. An example of an organ might be the heart, which is made of muscle tissues. And then a group of organs working together is called an organ system. An example of an organ system might be the circulatory system. And then finally, a group of organ systems forms an organism, such as an example would be a human or a frog or whatever. The next piece of paper we're going to look at and trim around is page 150. And we're going to start by realizing we want this and the picture and your answer, but not so much the back. So we're going to cut straight down the side. Yes, we're going to cut her ear off. That's okay. We're going to cut where the page number is. We're going to cut straight across. We're going to go up the side at the edge of the box. And then we're going to cut right across the top, keeping what is homeostasis. This is going to be on page 24 as a flap. If your 24 and 25 aren't side by side, skip a page and make 24 and 25 side by side. So 24 ends up being on the left. And so we're going to glue this down so that it opens like our pages. The next one we're going to do is 152 and 151, but we're more concerned with this side. So at the bottom of 152, we're going to cut along that white box. We're going to go right up the side of that white box, all the way up to the top. We're going to flip it over, and we're going to try to keep the print here, so we're going just above where it says balance in organisms. Then we're going to flip it back over, and since there's no print on this side, I'm going to go right down the side of that white box, and then I'm going to check to see if it fits on page 25 as a flap. And it's close, but it does look like it fits without sticking out. If you have to trim some extra, you can trim it over here. Just try not to cut off the formula down there or the equation for photosynthesis and cellular respiration. We're going to put our glue, one thin line of glue right down the side, and we're going to glue that onto page 25 as a flap, making sure it's not sticking out. All right, there's our flap. 126, on 26 you're going to glue page 154 as a flap. You're going to cut along that bottom yellow box. You're going to cut up the side of that yellow box. You're going to cut above the words on the back that says how do cells divide. We'll try to keep as much as we can. And then you're going to trim down this side, and you're going to check to see if it fits on 26 and glue it as a flap. The next one is going to be this gorgeous picture, but we're going to have to cut some of it off. Starting, this is 155, cut at the bottom of the yellow box. You're going to cut right up the side. If you want to hold it up to the light, you can. Make sure you're not cutting off the words. You're going to flip it over. You're going to cut right above the red words on both sides. Hold it up to the light if you need to. And then we're going to cut right along that yellow box. Check to see if it fits on page 27. We want this side showing. So you're going to put a thin line of glue right here, and then that is your flap on page 27.